the best players in this game, the best free agents, don't sign 1-year contracts. As an example, I mean, if you're going out for a premium player and a guy that's going to sign a 4 or 5 year contract, you have to sort of factor in the cost of that over 4 or 5 years. So just having 1 year and having flexibility in 1 year, really, it's nice to have. But quite frankly, most players worth their salt that are proven guys in the prime of their careers aren't going to come out and sign a 1-year contract with somebody.
Mm-hmm. How has the aging Oakland Coliseum affected luring free agents to Oakland, Billy?
Well, it's definitely had an impact, particularly these last 2 years. We've heard it from a number of players that and the difficult thing now is there's so many new stadiums around the league, so they have a comparison, but it's getting more and more challenging, and we outbid this last winter on a couple of players. We bid more years and more money, and it didn't come here, and a lot of it is that, listen, at the end of the day, these guys spend almost their entire lives during those 6 months here at the stadium, so it's an important part of attracting players, and it is getting challenging. I mean, it's a great playing service, and and the day games or the weather and all that stuff is attractive, but the fact is it's compared to the rest of the league, it's not up to the same level as everybody else, and it comes into play.
Right, and of course, one of your organic offensive pieces in the A system was Chris Carter, and he had a cup of coffee and he struggled in 19 at bats. What were your thoughts about Chris Carter's brief call up with the A's this past week?
Well, the need at the time, Chris was starting to swing well at AAA, and we also had a need with a couple of guys getting nicked up, and we thought it was a great time to introduce him to the major leagues, just to give him a taste. Chris's history suggests that whenever he goes to the next level, he has struggled, and I don't think we necessarily anticipated that he was necessarily going to come up here and just light the world on fire. Most young players don't, and but we did want to give him a little bit of a look. So he sees what it's like. Probably put him in a difficult position because we just moved him to the outfield a few weeks before he came up, so he didn't have a whole lot of time. So he's playing a position defensively that he really just started to learn. And but if anything, I think it was a good experience for him, and we think he's got a great future. He's a great kid. In fact, when he was sent down, he immediately drove out to Sacramento and got to the game, and even and got in that game, which is I think sort of a testament to this kid's will to go out and play and want to play. But trust me, having sent down many players many years, there's very few that don't take the 2 to 3 days to get all the way to Sacramento. Chris was there that very night and was playing in the game. So, but he's got a great future. He's a great kid, and like with any young player, when he comes up here for good, we're just going to have to exercise some patience with him.
The voice you're hearing is A's GM Billy Beane talking about the Oakland A's, Moneyball. And Billy, one of the characteristics of the Beane era, I tell people, is young pitching. In the late 90s, you were able to draft Hudson, Mulder, and Zito and had a nice run with them. And now you have one of the stingiest young starting pitching staffs in baseball with Cahill, Braden, Anderson, Mazzaro, and Gonzalez. What made you place such a high value on young starting pitching when you first became general manager?
Well, first of all, in our marketplace, if you look at the mid and small market teams that have succeeded, it really comes down to their pitching and the fact that pitching, in almost all the cases, came from within, and that includes ourselves back in the early part of the decade. And the other thing is it's a commodity that we just can't afford out on the open market. So when we started, turning the franchise over a few years ago, that was priority number one, was to create exactly what I think we have done, is a good young starting staff. And the other thing is they're going to be here for a while. They've and the other thing is you've got a little better health history with them if you've drafted them. You understand their health issues from the time you brought them into the system, And listen, getting young starting pitching, once again, it's the thing that everybody wants. So if you need it, as much as you may need hitting or other parts or skills in the game. The one thing that I can tell you that very few GMs are receptive to, and that's trading young starting pitching. And so the fact that we've been able to do this, and I think in a very short time, is a testament to the scouts we have in the organization and some of the people here. And once again, that is the hard part, because it's just not one of those things that people trade very often. So. Now the next step, as we've talked about earlier, is starting to fill them around with some good offensive players. And the other thing too is starting pitching. Even if you look at this club this year, it's not a very good offensive club, but the fact of the matter is the starting pitching has really kept us in almost every game. And you're really just one swing of the bat or one bloop hit away from winning a game. When you have poor pitching and good hitting, sometimes the game is over in the third inning, and you really have no chance at winning that game. And it can be frustrating when you're not scoring runs. But that being said, you're also in every game, which I think is good for young players to experience as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know some fans and some commentators, there was somewhat of criticism surrounding the A's standing pat at the trade deadline. Some people feel, well, if the A's are in striking distance, if they're competitive, if they're a 500 team, they should acquire sluggers. How much did Texas's play? And they're playing well. They acquired Cliff Lee. They're the obvious dominant team in the AL West. How much did that factor in, as well as, will a slugger even really matter this season? How much did that sway you guys to just stand pat at the trade deadline, Billy?
Well, certainly it is part of your decision making is where you are in the standings. I think, and not just where you are, but where you're headed, where the other clubs are headed. And the fact of the matter is that I'm not sure there was a slugger out there that was going to bring the division title here. And number two, if you were going to go after that slugger, in this situation, what they're going to ask for. They're going to ask for all your young pitching. So you have to be careful. I think more than anything in our situation, you have to be patient. There's a right time to strike, but I think you got to be careful when you spend time trying to create assets in terms of young players, that you don't just send them right out the door just for a hope. And we've got to continue to exercise patience. We have the probably one of the most challenging, if not the most challenging market in the game. We have a payroll that's excuse me, the lowest in the league, and but we do spend with what we have. But we've invested quite a bit into our excuse me, Dale. We've invested quite a bit into our farm system. We want to see how these players come along, and quite frankly, sustainability is based on having those young players for a long time. It's very difficult to rent players and create a foundation.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to have fun just throwing out some names, Billy, and I'm going to throw out these three names: Andre Ethier, Carlos Gonzalez, Nelson Cruz, all prospects at one time in your organization. How difficult is it to see these players excel in the big leagues with other teams?
Well, I think you have to take it on an individual basis and understand. I mean, if you take the case of, Nelson's case, I think this is a case of a kid who really just came into his own in his 30s, because he went through 4 organizations, including Texas, who had placed him on outright waivers, and he went through waivers, and 29 other teams passed on him even before he ended up establishing himself up there. So that's really a credit to the kid, who just blossomed very late in his career after playing with the Mets, the A's, the Brewers, and as I said, going through outright waivers, even with the Rangers. In Andre's case, certainly a kid that we drafted and developed, and a guy we thought very highly of. But the fact of the matter is the acquisition that was made was to acquire Milton Bradley, who we don't get to the ALCS in 2006 without him. So once again, those are 2 individual cases with their own stories. But if you're going to, as we just talked about before, in our situation, we don't really sign free agents, so we've got to use players to acquire players depending on where the club is at that situation. And certainly in the case of Andres, who's an outstanding player and a guy that we thought highly of, the acquisition of Milton Bradley gets us to the LCS in 2006, and quite frankly, that's a trade-off you have to make. And in Carlos's case, we were probably, if anything, there was probably a little bit of impatience there on our part, not so much with Carlos, but in an effort to try and acquire a player to speed up the process of being a competitive team, and it probably wasn't the right time to do it. We knew Carlos was a very talented guy, and let's face it, the guy we got is very talented too, and Matt Holliday, who went on to St. Louis and just signed a $100 million contract. So that was probably, if anything, the mistake was made in trying to get better than we were probably prepared to sooner than we probably should have. And also, in fairness too, is that Carlos, who's having a spectacular year this year too, is that has been outstanding in Colorado. He has been he's just been a dominant player in that ballpark, and it's a much different hitting environment there than it is here.
I saw his splits.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I saw his splits from on the road and at Coors
Yeah,
Field.
there's a significant gap between the two, and that's not to say. I mean, the kid's very young. He's a great kid too. But the mistake there really wasn't. It was really just trying to probably become more competitive than you were probably in a position to be. And I don't think anyone's going to argue that Matt Holliday is a great player. Once again, the mistake was trying to get. We were a little bit ahead of ourselves there.
Mm-hmm. I have a tweet from Matt from Great Britain. He's a baseball writer. And this is a question for you, Billy, of course. Has the signing of injury risk players overburdened the medical staff in recent years, and hence the multiple re-injuries?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And but you got to understand too that in fact, if you look at the history of our free agents last year, most of them didn't even play the year before, and that is a function of having a little bit of our market having to take risks on players because those are the ones you either can bring here or the ones you can afford. So the premium player in the prime of his career who's got a great track record is probably somebody that's outside our financial reach.
Mm-hmm. Andy from Oakland. How accurate was the portrayal of you in the book Moneyball, Billy?
Well, I haven't read every word of it, so I don't think. I think probably Michael Lewis said it best. It wasn't necessarily. It wasn't a biography on me. It was as he intended to write it. It was a business book and a book about an idea. So I think it was, if anything, it was probably a bit myopic on a lot of people, quite frankly. But once again, Michael's intention wasn't to write a biography and a human interest story about myself or Paul or anybody else in the book. He was really trying to write a book, and it was a vehicle for what he viewed as an idea.
Right. Last question, Billy, and just thank you for your time for being the inaugural podcast on Athletics After Dark. You have a rough day, little stressful. What does Billy Beane do to wind down for an evening?
Good question. I'm very fortunate. I've got a wonderful wife, and I've got 3 beautiful children, 2 that are still at home, one was at college. So, I've done this job long enough, so I very much separate my sort of personal and professional life as much as it's possible. And so just going home to them and realizing that I'm incredibly fortunate, to have this job, but when I leave this job, to go home to something even better. So that's always seems to perk me up a little bit. We had a tough game last night, and I always make it a habit of, despite having to get in the office for a night game pretty early, I always make it a habit to make sure that I spend some time with the kids. They're both up and getting breakfast, and that's probably the best way to realize that all is okay in the world.
That's Billy Beane. And Billy, just for the record, about a month ago, I went on record to say the Oakland A's will be the class of the American League West next year. And with young pitching and some offense, this team will be the class of the AL West next year. Thank you for your time, and keep up the great work.
Well, thanks, Dale, for your support, and best of luck on this website. I'm sure it'll be great, given your own passion for the club and the people that follow as well. So I look forward to speaking to you again, too.
Great. Thanks, Billy.
You bet, Dale.
Okay, take care.